What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. And in this video, we're going to talk about day 3 of OTAs for the New York Giants. I think it was the first day that the media had access to the practices today, so we started to see some quotes that came out, and I wanted to give my opinion on some of the things that transpired. Of course, it's voluntary, so not everybody has to show up. We received word, I think it was a day or two ago, that 75 members of the New York Giants. Now, of course, there's guys that are rookies, undrafted free agents, so there's a lot of players, so that doesn't include everybody that may or may not have showed up, but that's a large number. 75 players did show up to voluntary training camp, but there was a number of headline players on the New York Giants today that did not show up at voluntary OTAs, and we're going to get into all the names, and we don't know the reasoning as to why that may not be. So I'm not going to go crazy about it. It's voluntary. Of course, Odell Beckham used to catch a lot of, grief for not showing up to these practices, and he performed fine in the regular season. But of course, when Kadarius Toney is on that list, this year's first-round pick, it's only natural that the media is going to gravitate towards that, and fans are going to question why he may or may not be there. I personally don't think it's that big of a deal. He is the only rookie that is not signed yet, but that's a formality. That's going to happen. It's only a matter of time. Obviously, there's the rookie pay scale, and we know what his contract's going to be in the ballpark for what the 22nd overall pick may or, usually goes for. So I'm not too worried about that. He's going to sign the contract with the New York Giants, and he'll be out on the football field before you know it. But he was one of the players that was not there today. But we're going to start with Pat Leonard. And then I also want to jump into the offensive line and the formation. I thought that was the most interesting thing, at least that I read, from today's OTAs and who the starters were and where they were playing. But first, we're going to start with Pat Leonard. Pat Leonard, I am not the biggest fan, but I try to give members of the media their due. And I know that, they come up with a lot of, interesting quotes, and a lot of times that gives me ideas to make videos on. So I don't ever like to badmouth anybody in the media, but Pat Leonard always seems to be the type of guy that looks for clickbait type quotes, and that's exactly what he did today when he asked Joe Judge yet again about the quarterback position for the New York Giants. I don't know how many times Gettleman and Joe Judge got to tell people that Daniel Jones is our quarterback. Of course, Gettleman, I guess, left the door slightly open on WFAN, but I don't see it happening. I don't even think it's a possibility this year that the New York Giants would trade for a quarterback. Of course, it's a possibility next year if Daniel Jones does not perform well and the Giants aren't in love with any quarterback prospect in next year's draft class, and they felt a guy like Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers, if they were available, could put this team over the top. But this year, the New York Giants have expressed full confidence in Daniel Jones. They've got all these weapons to try to support him and brought him back in the second year in the offense. But this is what Pat Leonard had to say, and Joe Judge went on to back up his quarterback. I just asked Joe Judge if there was any possibility the Giants could make a trade for one of the available high-profile quarterbacks this offseason, or if Daniel Jones is their Week 1 starter. And Joe Judge seems to be a man of his word. This is what he had to say. Daniel Jones is our quarterback, Pat. He didn't beat around the bush. Daniel Jones, our quarterback, Pat. And I don't even know why he's asking Joe Judge. Joe Judge is the coach. He's not even the general manager. But, of course, he's looking for a headline quote. Joe Judge gave him nothing to work with. And Daniel Jones, rest assured, Giants fans, will absolutely be the day 1 starter this year for the New York Giants. And we'll see what he's got. Then I wanted to jump into a couple of things about the offensive line. I thought this was really important. Came out from Stapleton. Of course, we all have a lot of questions as to what the starting offensive line this year will look like, specifically at the guard position. Of course, Zach Fulton is a veteran. He may or may not be able to compete for a starting job on that line. He's been a starter in the NFL for like the last 4 or 5 years, albeit not the best guard in the NFL. But today, and I'm assuming it's left to right because Thomas is the left tackle and Parrott is the right tackle, this is what Art Stapleton had to say. Projected starting offensive line was participating at today's Giants OTA. Andrew Thomas on the left side, Shane Lemieux at the left guard, Nick Gates at the center, Will Hernandez at the right guard, and Matt Parrott at the right tackle. Now, the only thing I could take out of this, like I said, the alignment of the guards to me is interesting. Hernandez has never played on the right side. So to me, this shows you that the New York Giants kind of have more confidence in Shane Lemieux, being that they're keeping him on the left side and they're asking Will Hernandez to shift to the right side of the offensive line and play with an inexperienced right tackle. But maybe they're also looking at it like this. We want the more experienced guard with the less experienced tackle with Matt Parrott, and the less experienced guard to be with the guy that they feel is the more experienced tackle, obviously, Andrew Thomas, who played pretty much the entirety of last year in comparison to Matt Parrott. So you can look at it several ways, but it looks like, at least out of the gate, the New York Giants plan to have Will Hernandez on the right side. What does it mean? Doesn't mean a whole lot. Of course, they're always talking about cross-training, getting guys experience on both sides of the line. But today, that was the starting offensive line. And got other offensive linemen that were there, Nate Solder, Jonathan Harrison, Zach Fulton, Kyle Murphy, were all in attendance. And from what I read, every offensive lineman, at least of note, was in attendance for today's OTAs, which is good. We need those guys to take a big step up this year. Dan Duggan went on to talk about just that. The entire offensive line was there. Andrew Thomas participating after ankle surgery. Will Hernandez and Matt Barrett got a lot of time working together. Lorenzo Carter participated, which is a good sign after he tore his Achilles in Week 5 last season. Carter Coughlin working with the inside linebackers. So a lot of interesting things. Of course, Coughlin was more of an edge rusher coming in. That's what we thought his role was going to be. Well, the Giants may be giving him a different look on the inside at the linebacker position. And, hearing that Lorenzo Carter's participating, of course, is music to my ears, being that he's coming off the Achilles injury and Hernandez and Barrett getting a lot of time together. You have to figure that that's at least where they're leaning, with that being the right side of their offensive line this year. In terms of the players that did not show up, and there's a laundry list. This coming out from Duggan. Disclaimer that OTAs are voluntary and players could be absent for a variety of reasons. Here are the 25 players I did not spot today. Barkley, and that's obviously self-explanatory coming off the injury. Golladay, it's a little surprising. Tony, Ross, Rudolph, the injury yet again. Leonard Williams was not there. Dexter Lawrence, B.J. Hill, Austin Johnson. Then they were missing Anderson, Brown, Zimenez, Ragland at the linebacker position. And then it kept going. Bradbury, Jackson, Holmes, Robinson, Yadam, Beal, Wilson, Peppers, Ryan, McKinney, Love, and Gano. So it sounds like the entire secondary was out. So maybe that was the plan, that they planned to work on them another day. I don't know. But the entire secondary, for the most part, was not there today. And again, I'm not going to read too much into the absence from a voluntary, training camp for the New York Giants. I don't think it's much to read into. And maybe with COVID, they're kind of shifting them and getting them in on different days. Because if you really look at that list, it looks like a lot of players from the same positional groups were out today. You had 1, 2, 3 wide receivers, pretty much the entire defensive line, pretty much the entire secondary. So I'm not going to read too much into that. And a couple of those players were coming off of injuries. Of course, guys like Arias Tony not showing up are going to, bring headlines. But don't read too much into it. I'm sure the New York Giants are working and they're on the same page. I thought the most interesting thing that came out today was the construction of the offensive line. And we'll have to wait and see how the New York Giants handle that going forward. But I want to get a quick video giving my opinion on everything that transpired today. And hopefully we got a lot more New York Giants news coming up as training camp is getting closer. As always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe, drop a comment, maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.